Hello everyone and welcome. We are Nim with you once again with another Unreal Tournament 2004 tutorial. In this tutorial we're going to talk about zones and portals, why you need them, why they're important, and just some general tips and guidance on how to use them. Now, in our previous videos we've been spending time expanding our little play space. We added a couple of extra rooms and hallways. We've got our little curved hallways. We've got our big main hallway with the elevator, and we've got our pool. We've got our armor room. And if we jump into the game, there's a couple of things that I would like to point out with the rendering modes. So right now, we're in what's considered rendering mode 5. This is fully lit, fully textured, all the effects on, and you can see pretty much how most players are going to see the level. So if we jump in, we can see our skybox, we can see the pool and everything else as intended. All the textures are there, our light maps are there, everything's looking crisp and well lit and beautiful. But if we go into our console and we type in rmode 1, we start to see a little bit of a different story. So this is wireframe mode, and in wireframe mode, this is a really good way of figuring out exactly what is being drawn and how much of it is being drawn. And right now, you can kind of see that no matter where we are, if we're facing a wall or if we're, looking in a very specific point of view, we are still drawing everything behind that wall. We're still seeing it. It's still being rendered, even though we're not seeing it because we're behind this wall. And if I switch back to rmode 5, there's a big wall here. We shouldn't be able to see all that stuff being drawn, but it is. And that is because right now, everything is in the same zone. And to demonstrate that, I'm going to go back into our rmode command. I'm going to type in R2, and this is our zone preview. Everything is green. We are in the green zone. And there's no actual controlling what color this zone is. It's just, randomly green by default. But you can see everything in here is green. The lift is a mover. It's an object. It doesn't actually count. And the same thing for the base plates for the weapons. Those are entities and they're separate from the BSP. But you can see also in the sky that it's blue, and that's because the sky zone is a different zone. So it gets a different color. And it's also not being drawn all the time. We actually have to be looking at it to see it. And to prove that point, let's go back into rmode 1 again. And you'll notice, do you see those little lines that pop in and out near the center of my screen? That is the skybox loading and unloading based on how far I am tilting my camera up to that little corner up there where the skybox is. If I can see that fake backdrop texture, that is acting as a portal into that zone. And as soon as I move my camera down so I can't see that texture anymore, it disappears. And so what we're going to do in this tutorial is we're going to set up zone portals and zone off different areas of our map so that they are not being drawn all the time when we can't see them. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to actually need to set up our zone infos. Now we've got one here already that we set up in a previous tutorial, and we can look at its properties, and it's got its visibility. We have ZoneInfo here for just setting our ambient light and our fog and everything else. And if we want that stuff to remain consistent, then we don't actually have to change anything at all in this zone. We can just right click and duplicate it, and we'll find another spot where we want to set up another zone. And my first suggestion would actually be here in our new rocket launcher room. So we'll set it up here, and also I'm going to turn real-time previews on again, like we always do. I'm going to zoom out in our side view, and I'm going to pull our zone info up into this room. Now, this isn't finished by any means. We still haven't actually set up the zones, and the reason why is because we haven't actually sealed these zones off from each other. Now, we can do that by just, creating a wall here and a wall here and another wall here, and just make these two separate rooms that you can't get in and out of, and that would make them two separate zones. But we obviously want to be able to move through all of these. So instead, what we're going to need to do is make a portal. And a portal is a very special type of BSP brush that will place over an entire opening and will make sure that it seals that opening so that this becomes its own special area that is sealed off from the rest of the room. So the way we do that is we go over to our preview brush, and we're going to select the sheet, and we're going to bring that over to our hallway. And in our side view, I'm just going to drag it up so that's in the middle, and then I'm going to hold down Control and right click to rotate it. Oh, actually I need to undo that and turn snapping for rotations on so that it's accurately snapping to the grid. There we go. And it's, it's sort of hard to tell in this view whether or not it's aligned properly, but we can just go over here in our 3D view and look and see that it is indeed touching all four sides of that hallway. Now we're going to want to have a texture for this portal, and we want it to be a unique texture so that when we see it, we instantly recognize it as a portal. We say, oh, that's definitely a portal. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to browse through our human architecture set here. I'm just click on all, and let's find a texture that we are not using anywhere else, that we don't plan on using. Actually, well, we'll go with, no, actually, let's go with the black texture. Let's go with the solid black. We'll just pick this for now. We're going to select that texture and move this aside. And then we're going to right click on our special brush, or left click, sorry, and then we're going to select Zone Portal. And you can see it's already got some defaults set for us. It's a portal brush. It'll be invisible, and it'll be non-solid. So we hit OK, and then we hit close. And it doesn't look like anything's there, right? It doesn't look like anything happened. But if you turn real-time preview off, you can see now that we have a portal there. And this is how you're able to see brushes that have been tagged invisible. You need to have real-time preview turned off, because when you have real-time preview turned on, it's simulating the game, and when you're simulating the game, anything that is supposed to be invisible will be rendered invisible. So this is how you check to make sure that you've actually drawn your portal. Now, we're going to need to do this a couple more times, and you can either drag the preview brush over to the other hallway, but I'm just going to leave it here for now. And instead, I'm just going to click on the portal itself. I'm going to right click and duplicate and take this over to the other hallway and seal that off. And then for our preview brush over here, I'm just going to go ahead and grab our vertex editing tool. I'm going to drag these vertices over so that they are covering this opening to our room over here. And I'm going to go ahead and add a zone portal here and click OK and close. That should have created a portal. Oh, there it is. Okay, good. It's just not rendering unless I'm outside the map. Portals are funny like that. Also, we would need to build BSP to really see these in action. So let's go ahead and build our geometry. We don't need to build lighting right now, so just the geometry. And it looks like our portals are closing off the second room rather nicely. So now, if we go into the game, and I'm going to click into the game, and let's go ahead and turn on rmode 1. Now you can see we're starting to cull some of those areas off because it's a different zone. And if I'm looking at this wall entirely, you can see that the room behind is not being drawn. The skybox is not being drawn. So we are already cutting out a significant portion of that room. And as soon as I look up, I can start drawing some of that hallway. So this is already a lot more efficient than what we had previously. And if I'm here in this big hallway and I'm looking into the room, it's not drawing the curved hallways until I'm looking at them. And we come up here. If I go into this hallway, I'm not drawing the other room until, I'm about to see it. And I can stare at this wall right here, and most of the room over there is not being drawn either. So we're cutting out quite a bit. Let's go over here into this room, and you can see I'm not drawing the other room as long as I am not looking at that zone portal. And the other way you can check that this is working is if we go into rmode 2, and now you can see we have two different colored rooms. We have the red room and we have the green room. And so this is how you're able to tell zones apart. You can see that they are a distinct color all to themselves. And this is a great way of debugging whether or not a zone is sealed or not. Because if you don't have a zone portal sealing off a zone, then both of those zones will be the same color. So, how do we make this even more efficient? Well, there's a couple other things that we can do. This room over here could certainly use another zone portal. Even though it's small, there's like very minimal geometry there. We can turn that into its own zone. So let's go ahead and not use vertex editing. Let's right click on our ZoneInfo and duplicate it. And we'll put it up here, or rather down here in our room with the, that's our side view. There we go. In the room with the armor. We'll just stick that there. And then we'll go ahead and grab our preview brush, drag it over here, and now we'll use the vertex tool to stretch this up, and we still have our black texture selected. So we're just going to go over here and make sure that is sealed on all four corners, and we're going to hit special brush, make sure zone portal is selected, hit OK. So now we have our zone portal there. And let's say I want to put a lot of detail into these hallways at some point, and I want to make them their own zones as well. So we can go ahead and close this. We'll duplicate our zone info again. I'm going to get out of vertex editing mode. Let's put that in our hallway over here. And we'll duplicate this one more time. and put that, oops, I double duplicated. There we go. Let's put this in its other hallway over here. And then we're going to grab this portal. We're going to duplicate it. I'm going to drag it over here to this hallway and then hold down Control and right-click drag until this rotates to cover that hallway. And we can preview it here. Say, yep, that's in all four corners of that hallway. That looks good. We'll duplicate this one more time and carry it over to the other hallway. Make sure that is good on that end. Looks good to me. Okay. And we can go even further. We can make this hallway with the lift in it its own zone as well. So let's find our zone portal over here and duplicate that. And we're going to need to drag those vertices down a bit. So let's get them down to the floor. Yep, that looks correct. That looks good. I know what you're saying. I'm forgetting something, but hold on, let me cook. Okay, so I'm going to save this. We're going to build everything. We're going to run. And now our level is playable. If we go into our rocket launcher room here and we hit rmode 1, you can see that we're only drawing what explicitly needs to be drawn based on our camera. And when I turn over here, we are not drawing any of the room at all. We're only drawing a little bit of the hallway. And now we're starting to see the hallway, but we're like cutting off the rest of the room here until we get here. And now we can see the armor hallway because we can see that zone just peeking out from behind that wall. And now we can see the rocket launcher room is not being drawn, but we can see the zone portal into where the lift is. Now we can see the opening into that hallway, but not much more beyond that. So the zone portals are doing their job for the most part. Now, if I go into rmode 2, we have a zone here that doesn't have a zone info. Is it bad? Is it good? I'll tell you the answer. It is neither. You can actually set up zone portals as many ways as you like, and you don't necessarily need a zone info, but it's just good practice to have a zone info in every zone that you have sealed off by portals so that you can control different things like how the ambient sound works in that particular space. So this being like a tight hallway, we might want to change how sound reverberates here with echoes versus when it's in the larger open atrium where the echoes might have like a different quality to them. Or in here where there would be a lot more sound dampening because it's a closed space. So zones offer different ways of providing environmental effects depending on how they're sealed off and what their zone info attributes are set to. So if we go back into the editor And I don't know if this actually works or not, but let's go ahead and copy our zone info over here into our last zone. Let's duplicate it, and we'll drag it into our elevator room. And let's open up the properties. And if we go into zone sound, we can change the effect of the sound. And in zone, is it zone info? No. Zone light? No. Is it sound? No, it's got to be zone sound. So you can add an effect here, and then you can add how that effect plays out in the space. So you can say like a driving tunnel. I don't actually know if this will work or not, but we'll find out. You can also specify, obviously, other zone settings like fog and ambient light in this zone, and you can even set times for how that fog transitions. If you go into zone light and you have different distance fog color here, you can set the distance fog blend time, and this will blend to whatever fog color settings you have specified in this particular zone over this amount of time. Anyway, let's get back into the game. I'm going to recompile everything one more time. Let's pick up our rocket launcher. Let's run around. And you can see that the quality of lighting in this space has actually improved because we've given it a zone info. Why? I can't tell you. I don't know. Let's go into our rmode 2. We can see all of our different zones. And let's see what this sounds like in this zone. I don't know if I can tell a difference. So it probably doesn't work. You might need to have special audio drivers for that to take effect. Or I might just be setting it up wrong. It doesn't matter. The main thing is that we now have our areas zoned and portaled off for the most efficient rendering possible. And later on, if you're going through this level and you're adding a whole bunch of details like additional static meshes and props, other items, these will even include rendering other players. So this is a really useful tool for making sure you squeeze the last bit of performance out of your level and make sure that your zones are cordoned off properly. Another thing to note is that if you're making maps for team modes like capture the flag or assault mode, then zone infos are really handy because you're also able to give the zone a name, and you can put that in location name. And we can call this the rocket launcher room. And we can call this the left upper hallway. Or actually, we'll call it the west upper hallway. And east upper hallway. We can call this one the elevator room. We'll call this the main atrium. And we'll call this last one here the shield room. There. So we have all the spaces in our zone labeled. Let's go ahead and build our project and save. And we're going to go into the game, Unreal Tournament 2004. Let's go into Instant Action, Deathmatch, Tutorial Level. Let's go to Game Rules and make sure we don't get slaughtered. Let's put him at Experienced. That's good. So now we're going to play with a couple of bots. And I'm going to play with wireframe mode on, and this should be fun. Wall hacks. You can see how the player upstairs disappeared when they were out of the portal view. In fact, if I go over here, I can't see the players at all because they're effectively being rendered out of the zone view. And now I can see them again because I can see the portals that they're in. But also, this is still very much cheating. So don't get caught on a server doing this. Whoop, I blew myself up. That is what happens when you can't see if there's a wall in front of you. Okay, so that will be it for this lesson. I hope you have come away with something useful. And I will see you in the next video.